One of these rums can literally catch fire. Another gets its flavor from a rotting pit of sludge that smells like death. And the fanciest bottle on the shelf is quietly lying straight to your face about how old it really is. They're all rum, and the first one is probably sitting in your kitchen right now. White rum. Everybody writes it off as the boring one. That's exactly what the label wants you to think. White rum is the light, silver spirit in your mojito and daiquiri. Soft, clean, a touch of vanilla, built to disappear into whatever you mix it with. But here's what most people don't realize. A lot of white rum isn't young at all. It's often aged in oak for a year or two, then stripped of color through charcoal filtration. It looks fresh. It already lived in a barrel. It starts as molasses, the thick, dark residue left after sugar is refined. In the Caribbean, enslaved people on sugar plantations discovered in the 1600s that this waste could ferment into alcohol. What started as leftovers became one of the most important spirits on Earth. There are also two fundamentally different ways to distill rum. Column stills run continuously, pushing the spirit toward higher proof and a clean, light character. Think of it as the efficient, precise method. Pot stills work in batches and keep far more of the heavy textured aromatic compounds that column stills strip away. The older, messier method that produces more flavor. That choice alone shapes everything that comes after. White rum is the most poured rum in the world because it disappears into drinks. But leave that same spirit in wood and it transforms completely. Gold rum. Time in the barrel turns white rum golden, sometimes amber, pulling out caramel, vanilla, and warm oak character. Here's where things get deceptive and fascinating at the same time. In the Caribbean heat, rum ages 2 to 3 times faster than Scotch in Scotland, but it also evaporates aggressively, what distillers call the angel's share. In Scotland, a barrel loses about 2% of its contents every year. In the Caribbean, that number hits 8 to 10%. Run the math on a 12-year Caribbean rum, and the barrel has lost more than half of what was originally inside it. A 20-year tropical barrel might be mostly gone. What's left is intensely concentrated spirit. That's why truly old Caribbean rum costs real money. But here's the catch. That golden color doesn't always come from age. Many producers skip the wait entirely and add caramel coloring to fake the look of maturity. Color is not age. A young rum can look ancient in a single afternoon. And that one shortcut, pour in some coloring, print a big number on the label, is the trick that runs through the entire rum industry, all the way to the most expensive bottle at the end of this video, Barbados rum. In 1703, someone in Barbados signed a deed for a sugar estate that included, almost as a footnote, a rum distillery. That distillery is still running today. It's Mount Gay, widely recognized as one of the oldest surviving rum producers in the world. Barbados later became one of the first rum regions to earn a geographical indication. Think of it as a legal passport for a drink. It means true Barbados rum must actually be made on the island under specific production standards. You can't bottle it somewhere cheaper and slap the name on. Stylistically, Barbados sits in the middle. Not as heavy as Jamaica, not as stripped back as modern light rum. It blends pot still richness with column still precision, and Mount Gay defined that balance over 3 centuries. Later, Foursquare pushed it further. Master distiller Richard Seale built Foursquare's reputation on one idea: show your work. In 2008, he launched the Exceptional Cask Selection, vintage-dated cask-specific rums with no added sugar, no coloring, and full production details on the label. That was standard practice in Scotch whiskey. In rum, it was almost unheard of. The 2018 International Spirits Challenge gave the Foursquare 2005 ECS its biggest mainstream award, and the industry started paying attention. What Seale helped prove is that rum could be taken as seriously as any cask-specific whiskey if producers were willing to be honest about what was in the bottle. Appleton, Worthy Park, and others joined the push against hiding young spirits behind sugar, color, and vague age claims. That fight is still going on, and it matters more than most people realize. Dark rum. Dark rum is what happens when you stop rushing. Leave rum longer in heavily charred barrels, and it turns deep brown to nearly black. Bold molasses, toffee, smoke. Blackstrap is the most extreme version, made from the darkest, thickest grade of molasses, the stuff that's been boiled down so many times it tastes almost burnt on its own. Mix that base with the right barrel, and you get something so dense it coats the glass. Gosling's Black Seal from Bermuda is the most famous example, so tied to the island's identity that Bermuda legally protects the dark and stormy cocktail. You can't put that name on a menu with any other rum. Gosling's owns the drink. The darkness, though, is still frequently faked with added caramel coloring. The same trick from gold rum, just pushed further. By now you know, color tells you nothing. Spiced rum. Sir Henry Morgan raided the Spanish Caribbean with a fleet of ships and no official authorization from the British Crown. He burned cities, seized treasure, and became one of the most feared privateers of the 1600s. Someone named a rum after him, and made it sweet enough for a college party. Captain Morgan launched in the 1940s. The spiced version took off in the US in the 1980s and never looked back. The formula: take a base of gold or dark rum, add cinnamon, clove, nutmeg, vanilla, and sugar. Most spiced rum barely relies on barrel aging for its flavor. The profile comes from what's poured in afterward. Not contemplative, not complex, just mixable. The roughest men who ever went to sea reached for something with far more bite. Navy rum. On July 31st, 1970, grown men in the British Royal Navy wept, held mock funerals, and threw their cups into the sea. They were mourning a drink. The daily rum ration, called the tot, had been part of Royal Navy life since 1655, right after Britain seized Jamaica. Rum stayed stable on long voyages when water turned green and slimy. In 1740, Admiral Edward Vernon ordered it diluted with water to fight the drunkenness. He wore a coat made of a fabric called grogram, so his men nicknamed him Old Grog, and the watered rum became grog. That tradition lasted over 300 years before the Navy ended it forever on what sailors now call Black Tot Day. Navy rum itself is bold, heavy, full-bodied, and built to be sipped slow. But even that isn't the strongest style. Overproof rum. Most rum sits around 40% alcohol. Overproof goes far beyond that, 50 to 75% ABV. And the king of the category is genuinely dangerous. Wray Nephew White. Overproof from Jamaica comes bottled at 63%. Inside Jamaica, that single bottle accounts for around 90% of all the rum people drink. It's so flammable, it's used in flaming cocktails. Its flavor is explosive. Overripe banana, pineapple, intense funk. Jamaicans pour it at weddings, funerals, and even splash it onto the foundations of new buildings to ward off evil spirits. The local way to drink it is a Ray and Ting rum and grapefruit soda over ice. Almost every rum so far has been built from molasses. One spirit breaks that rule completely: cachaça. In the 1600s, Portuguese merchants tried to ban a local Brazilian spirit to protect their wine trade. Brazilians revolted, and the spirit won. That spirit is cachaça, made from fresh pressed sugarcane juice, not molasses, which changes everything about what ends up in your glass. The Portuguese were likely distilling it in Brazil as early as 1532, decades before Barbados formalized rum production. Today, over 1.5 billion liters are made every year, almost all consumed inside Brazil. It was finally made legal in 1661, and it has never looked back. It's legally defined as a Brazilian sugarcane spirit, bottled between 38 and 48% ABV, and it's the backbone of the caipirinha, lime, sugar, ice. It tastes grassy, bright, and alive in a way molasses-based rum simply cannot replicate. Rum agricole, spelled with an H, made famous on the island of Martinique, and the only rum protected by the same legal designation France gives champagne. Rhum agricole was born in the 1800s when sugar markets collapsed and French Caribbean distilleries had to pivot. They crush fresh cane, ferment the green juice they call visu, essentially raw cane juice straight from the press, and distill it within about a day of cutting because it spoils almost the moment it's pressed. In 1996, Martinique earned an AOC, a legal passport for the drink that locks down origin, production method, and style. Some producers go further, sourcing from single estates or heritage cane varieties that have grown on the island for generations. The result tastes like the cane field is still breathing in your glass. Grass, earth, and flowers. Jamaican funk rum. Jamaica didn't refine rum, it amplified it. The key is esters, aromatic compounds created during fermentation, and no one pushes them harder than Hampton Estate, distilling since the 1750s. Jamaican distilleries like Hampton and Worthy Park use pot stills specifically because pot stills retain the heavy, complex compounds that column stills remove. More ester retention means more funk, and to build that funk, Hampton uses dunder, leftover sludge from previous distillations, plus something called the muck pit, a festering brick pit filled with rotting molasses, dead yeast, and bacteria so foul it smells like death. But that rot is the magic. One acid in that pit smells like vomit on its own. Mixed with alcohol during distillation, it transforms into a compound that smells exactly like fresh pineapple. Hampton ferments for weeks instead of days. Their strongest rum, called DOK, hits the legal ester limit and is basically undrinkable straight, so it's sold to flavor candy, perfume, and tobacco. In 2016, Jamaica gave this identity legal protection. The Jamaican Geographical Indication, that legal passport for a drink, now covers not just the island's name, but its production profile, the ester-rich, intensely aromatic character that took centuries of muck pits and wooden stills to develop. The next rum trades all of that for something almost no distillery on Earth still owns: Demerara rum. Rum lovers treat this place like holy ground, and when you hear what's still running inside, you'll understand why. Demerara rum comes from Guyana, named after the Demerara River. The Diamond Distillery is the only rum distillery left in a country that once had around 200 of them. Tucked inside, still running almost every day, are wooden stills that exist nowhere else on the planet, including the Port Morant double wooden pot still, built in 1732 from a tough native timber called greenheart. As distilleries across Guyana shut down over the decades, their historic stills got rescued and moved under one roof, turning Diamond into a living museum that still actually makes rum. Demerara was the backbone of traditional Navy blends. Some accounts put it at around 85% of the mix. Today, it's bottled as El Dorado and spotlighted by independent bottlers like Velier and Berry Brothers and Rudd, companies that buy individual casks from distilleries, age them separately, and release them with full production details and nothing added. No blending to a house style, no sugar, no coloring. Some of the most celebrated bottles in modern rum came from independents shining a light on these forgotten stills. The wildest rum of all lives somewhere else entirely: clairin. While the entire rest of the Caribbean has fewer than 50 working distilleries, Haiti alone has more than 500. Clairin is Haiti's raw homemade spirit, pressed from fresh cane juice, fermented with wild yeast floating in the open air, distilled just once, and bottled with no aging. Because Haiti never industrialized, there are no chemicals on the cane. It's accidentally organic, made from native cane varieties that have grown there for over 200 years. Locals buy it, poured from plastic jugs at the market, for as little as $1.50. It's woven into voodoo ceremonies. Wild fermentation means the juice ferments with whatever native yeasts and microbes are floating in the local air. No lab-selected strains, no controlled environment. The result is louder, more unpredictable, and more alive than anything industrial fermentation produces. Grassy, earthy, sometimes olivey or spicy. The flavors come from the place itself, the cane, the air, the water, not from anything a lab selected. For most of history, nobody outside Haiti had tasted it. Then Luca Gargano arrived. Gargano is the Italian founder of Velier, the independent bottling house already renowned for sourcing rare rums from Demerara and Jamaica. And his endorsement carried real weight in the spirits world. He showed up in 2012, called clairin the purest rum in the world, and began bottling it under the Velier label, starting with 3 producers: Sajou, Casimir, and Vaval. Each one tastes completely different from the others. That's the point. This next rum is the exact opposite of that honesty. Solera rum. This is the smooth, premium sipping rum, usually Spanish style, often from Guatemala or Venezuela. And the number on the bottle is not what you think it means. The most famous is Ron Zacapa. That giant 23 on the label looks like it means 23 years old. It doesn't. Solera is a blending system where younger and older rums are continuously mixed together. The number refers to the oldest rum in the blend, not the average age, and the average is considerably lower than what's printed. On top of that, many Solera-style rums use added sugar and caramel coloring to create a consistent, silky profile. The same tricks you've seen across this entire video, just dressed up in a premium bottle. Independent testing has found significant sugar additions in certain bottlings. A rum researcher named Johnny Drazier cracked the methodology open in 2014 by measuring the sugar himself. The transparency advocates seal at Foursquare, the independent bottlers, the Jamaican producers publishing full production specs, have spent years fighting exactly this. None of it makes the rum taste bad, but what you think you're drinking often isn't what it is. Rum isn't one thing, it's a spectrum, from raw cane juice pulled from the earth to industrial blends designed to look older than they are. Once you understand how it's made, you stop seeing labels the same way again. If you want every type of whiskey broken down the same way, that video's on your screen right now.